Indeed, they warned me. No joking, no smiles, no cracking jokes on this serious stage. Dear guests of Latitude 59, I am very proud to greet you in Tallinn. As President of Estonia, I represent the world's only digital society, which actually already has a state. The Estonian digital society of 1.3 million people, our whole population. We have gone through a societal disruption to make sure our citizens and businesses have a totally digital environment to deal with both the state and also with their private partners. Important notice: at no point during this process has Estonia created any cutting-edge technology. Tech-wise, all we use in e-governance is pretty well tried and tested by other actors, mostly private in the world. You know, it makes it cheaper, and it also makes it more reliable. Part of it is even open data, namely our e-voting system, so all and sundry can try to hack, and if they can, they could tell us. They've tried for 7 long years. They've not managed. The disruptive innovation from Estonians is thus not technology itself, not at all. The innovation lies elsewhere, in the process of bringing businesses and government together to help all people, young and old, so that they can benefit from digital services options available. There is no enforcement in Estonia, actually, to go digital. But Estonians are lazy. It's simple, cheap, available. Everybody has done so by now. Everybody's grandmother, too. As it has to be simple, cheap, and work every time, therefore it cannot be innovative, too innovative, untried and tested, and it is not. But it does include everyone, and it works every time. It does demonstrate that for a society as a whole, high rates of technological penetration, even when the technology itself is not cutting edge, may pay off much better than having something truly innovative in the hands of a few select people. Basically, you all have experienced this. Your parents have experienced this too. The lives of millions have been transformed by cheap cars or washing machines, not by deployments to the moon. It is important to keep that in mind when we talk digitalizing societies. How it happened in Estonia was probably accidental. Most big breakthroughs, they are. The Estonia, which you know at least by its e-residence facility, is something which happened when government realized around the turn of the century that the private sector was notably better digitalized in their processes than the government. But instead of setting out to simply digitalize the government processes, Estonians, for actually unknown reasons, decided to propose a system which would change how society thinks and how it works. What we did was, we put a person, the simple man on the bus, a small or bigger enterprise, into the center of our digital society, and we provided this person with digital identity, making all interactions with all other persons effortless. For those who are not Estonians, you know it saves us 2% of our GDP today, and we probably cannot count the amount of saved neurons which are still intact because we never have to queue at any office. There are also real environmental savings, of course, because you do not emit CO2 by sitting behind your computer, while you do when you go from social services to education services, etc. We don't do it. Ourselves, represented by our ID signature, complete with timestamp, we can be within 5 minutes in 10 places, if our computers are good enough. Normally they are. You can, of course, always use computer and an iPhone or telephone in parallel. Makes it even quicker. But as important is to stress that this is also socially responsible change, what we have had. Saving on administrative burden does help little people, simple people, small businesses, much more than big entities who are very used to managing bureaucracy. So all this 2% is heavily skewed towards benefiting SMEs and normal citizens. I am sure that rather sooner or later we will see all governments in developed countries climbing onto the digital platform. Digital IDs are rather widespread already. Governments are currently adjusting laws to enable digital states. European Union is starting to make digital sphere part of the European freedoms. This is happening with 100% of certainty, and simply because public sectors cannot afford to be the only ones going on in analog. People are more and more digital in their relations among themselves and private businesses. That would mean that governments will simply lose the attention of their people if they cannot keep up. It comes down to that simple issue. If you are impatient to try out a digital society, explore the Estonian e-residency option. But when you come, please keep also in mind that this is no way a no-tax option. It is the most transparent way of doing business in the world. Our tax board needs to know all you do here. And they are a chatty tax board. They tell every other tax board which bothers to ask, so everybody would know you're doing business in Estonia. It would be great that you would be doing business in Estonia. Everybody would want to know, including the tax boards. Transparency in conducting international business is a valid G20 objective claim. So here, with e-residency, we are totally in the sync with established developed world thinking. Again, we simply come from the viewpoint of a simple entrepreneur. Being compliant does not need to take time and resources away from doing your business. As a digital society, we also understand better the lack of geography from everyday equations of people entering job market today and tomorrow. Work is very much changing. It is less related to a concrete enterprise, concrete office, and consequently, obviously, concrete country. Industrial area jobs are vanishing faster and faster. And I hear weird voices saying that we need to therefore pay everybody a sustenance fee and get money for that from taxing robots. It sounds pretty absurd, I have to say. I doubt that we would have reaped the full benefits to our societies from industrial revolution if we had decided to tax tractors and pay a sustenance fee to everybody who lost their job in agriculture. Of course, that transition was socially very painful and costly for a majority of people. But that was not because of the technological drive. That was because lack of education, medical treatment, and other social services, which all we do offer to people nowadays. So it is not so scary for lower middle class and poor facing this time around the deterioration of industrial employment. It will be much better. Instead of curbing people's ability to adapt by talking sustenance fees, we should focus on the ability of modern technology to raise the earning capacity of the society as a whole. We must not take technological development simply as something limited to the better industrial processes and therefore to job losses. It is a comprehensive change. It reaches out to every single person. In fact, I don't know whether you have thought about it, but I have. Remarkable amount of the jobs which are created by technology, they are surprisingly neutral to the occupations or educations in their nature. One might call them egalitarian opportunities even. They are not reserved to wise, well-educated and tech-savvy. You may be sad to hear it, but so it is. Yes, those who are tech-savvy, they do best by creating tech infrastructure. But some of the quickest growing companies sell actually strikingly simple services or services we did not think existed at all. Think chatting to each other. In long version we call it Facebook, in shorthand it's Twitter. Or Uber, or Airbnb, allowing people to turn their spare resource into service to others. These are big examples, but SME versions exist too. A bookkeeper can work for 10 companies from any end of the world. I admit their market is not global, as you need to know the laws, but it is much bigger than their physical range is, where they go to work by car, bus, or train. In handicraft, it's a time-old available career option for people who do not wish to obtain degrees. Previously, it was limited in its earning capacity by a person's ability to drive around local markets, or later in the 20th century, by the ability to sign distribution contracts with souvenir stands. Today, I know in Estonia a guy who is South African. He lives in a little county of a couple of thousand people. He produces world-class bows and arrows. His market is somewhere among the global billions of people, and none of them lives probably closer than 500 kilometers to him. Doesn't matter. These examples show how technology enhances earning capacity and lower provision costs in traditional tasks. In addition, tech use and more free time for a bigger number of people stemming from efficiency gains creates permanently new jobs we do not know yet. Traveling YouTuber, this is a new job, we know already. But the next one we do not, it might be weirder even. To sum up, job creation will continue beyond industrial age, as it did beyond the agricultural period. The transition should be more tolerable to vulnerable classes due to existing social systems and the democratic nature of this transition, which creates opportunities for all social classes. This now brings me to something I like to call the Alice in Wonderland issue. It's another social disruption I want to talk about. You remember when the cat vanished, the grin just lingered on for some time. Well, if we talk about the disruption to current jobs and indeed working habits of people, we need to test whether our governance models are sustainable through these disruptions. Or will our tax base, let's take a very simple example, social tax base, simply vanish together with industrial jobs? If we do not believe that the grin will stay on forever without the cat, personally I don't, we need to assume that social security model built on industrial model of work cannot survive if the industrial model itself will be gone. People become more independent in their work, thus making them freer. This is to be welcomed by political actors, supported by rethinking social systems and benefits, education, pensions. But this is obviously the job for me and my colleagues. What matters to you is technology makes everyone free to decide their own destiny, to become more independent professionals for whom both enterprises and governments will compete. This is to be celebrated, and I know you will be doing so during this conference. We in the public sector have a lot of thinking to do, because we are still trying to capture the taxes from big companies and arguing among ourselves which country should get the benefits. In the future, we will be following people after people. There will be no tax river coming in. We need to fly from flower to flower and make a pact with you, people. We want to be the dock where everybody wants to be docked for their social, educational services in the future. I'm sure we are best placed in the world in Estonia to first understand this issue and second, to really carry out quickly the changes we need to be the most successful state in this century in the Northern Hemisphere. Good luck to you with your business.